Today we're going to be talking about the Mistweaver Monk. Two incredible playstyles, one fantastic spec, and why it feels so bad to play right now in the Mists of Pandaria Classic beta. Fistweaving, ranged casting. There were two styles for the Mistweaver Monk, but it all came down to the one identity. You could play it your way and still shine. That was the fantasy of it all. But in Mists of Pandaria Classic, the fantasy just it's not hitting the spot right now. Over Mists of Pandaria's lifespan, Mistweaver was hit with wave after wave after wave of nerfs. Healing output was slashed, mana costs soared, spells like Enveloping Mists and Uplift were gutted, Mana Tea lost its synergy with haste, even Jab and Crackling Jade Lightning got mana hikes. The result? Fistweaving. One half of the spec became unsustainable. You were forced into this awkward stance dancing just to conserve mana, not even to optimize healing. Now, let's talk about the tier set bonuses, especially from tier 14. This will make almost no impact to your gameplay or how strong your character gets at all for tier 14. It barely matters. It buffs abilities that we barely want to use due to the cost and tuning of those abilities. They're not only inefficient, but we're not even rewarded for using the set bonus. So what's going wrong with Fistweaving right now? Fistweaving should feel like dancing through combat. Instead, it's limping. Jab costs way too much mana, hits like a wet noodle, and spinning crane kick is worthless unless you abuse stance swapping and rushing Jade Wind. Eminence, it's a shadow of what it once was, where it used to heal 50% of the damage that was being dealt down to 25%. It has low throughput in comparison and gets outpaced by standing still, casting Soothing Mist and doing a standard healer rotation. You end up just fiending to cast Crackling Jade Lightning because it heals more than your actual melee rotation, and that feels bad. The fluidity is gone, the flow is gone, the fun hanging by a thread. On the other side, the caster playstyle isn't thriving either. You're forced into this Renewing Mist and Uplift spam, and even that's inefficient due to the nerfs to Rem's jumps and Uplift's mana cost. We're doing something at the fraction of a power of what we once did, which feels bad. Surging Mist, it's a trap. It's too expensive, too weak, and no one's hitting Tiger Palm 5 times just to make it free. You can channel Soothing Mists to make it an instant cast, tank topper, but then you're 10 seconds into the fight because you're pumping the tank full of all these heals. We're good at everything, but not great at anything. What's really missing from Mistweaver's kit? If you were to ask me and I was to give you my direct answer, I would tell you glyphs. We have no good glyphs. Between Renewing Mists, Targeted Expulsion, Surging Mist, the Zen Meditation glyph, as well as the two glyphs that affect healing orbs, there is almost nothing that we want to take as Mistweaver because none of it changes the way that we play, none of it makes any of our abilities stronger, it all does very minor things. They may as well be minor glyphs for us. On top of that, Blizzard also removed the Uplift glyph that we did have back in original Mists of Pandaria in patch 5.4, where Uplift gave us the option to cast it without using Chi, which used 6% of our base mana, which they also nerfed and then in turn removed in 5.4. It feels bad right now because we don't have options. We have this cookie cutter layout, we have to play a certain way, and if we don't play that way, we're not good. And even when we do play in the most optimal way, we're not as good as the other options. So what are some fixes that we could do to make Mistweaver stronger? Rising Sun Kick added to the Mistweaver toolkit. Rising Sun Kick is a staple of Mistweaver in later expansions, but it's not available to us in MoP. It's a nice Fistweaving cooldown to use for healing, and with the use of future talent, Rising Mists, help us keep our Renewing Mists up on the raid. Rising Mist. Rising Mist causes our Renewing Mist duration to be extended by 3 seconds to help keep our Renewing Mists blanketed across the raid, which is one of the main ways Mistweaver heals. Another way is Teachings of the Monastery in later expansions causes Blackout Kick to have a small chance to reset the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick, helping with the general idea of keeping up your Renewing Mist across the raid and giving you more targets to uplift in the future. If this is added, I would suggest nerfing Renewing Mist to compensate for the increased amount that you would have across the raid. Eminence and the one on Serpent Statue. In Dragonflight, the developers gave Mistweaver a change to this passive that is the core of Fistweaving, the best change it could get, which is instead of healing one nearby ally, it could heal up to 5 nearby allies, but split evenly amongst them. This was a massive help to their healing, as the overhealing done from Mistweavers was reduced significantly. These are what locked in the idea that Mistweaver is only a melee spec. If these are implemented, I suggest keeping in mind that the caster playstyle that still exists even in retail, as with only these changes it's likely to die if it doesn't get support as well. Some changes that Blizzard could make to current spells. Crackling Jade Lightning is currently a builder with the damage of a spender. Because there are no other ranged damage abilities for the ranged playstyle, I think this would be much better just to be converted to a chi spender than to nerf Crackling Jade Lightning, as it is the main way to deal damage for the ranged playstyle of Mistweaver, and if the above is added, also keeps it being a viable playstyle. Something that could be added to Rising Mist to make sure that both are playable is to add Crackling Jade Lightning to it, so it also extends the duration of Renewing Mist by 3 seconds, or something like 0.5 seconds per tick. This also being a spender would be good to add another outlet for Mistweaver to spend our chi, especially if the glyph of uplift is added back. Surging Mists. Surging Mist is a spell that currently is rarely used due to its high base cost and low healing. While it does generate chi, other spells are just better for generating them. The only time Surging Mist might be used is spamming Tiger Palm, which costs 1 chi in Mists of Pandaria, 5 times, to make it instant and free of cost via Vital Mists from Teachings of the Monastery. With the above suggestion, to make Crackling Jade Lightning a chi spender, I think Vital Mists to it would help with generating these stacks to make it more of a used spell and make the likelihood of actually reaching 5 stacks higher, as you really only use Tiger Palm once every 20 seconds right now, which is 1 in 5 stacks. To summarize it all, Mistweavers have always been a unique healer. They've always consistently maintained 2 different playstyles that have historically been quite close to each other in performance. Both of these playstyles have been able to maintain the same strengths and weaknesses compared to each other, all the way from Mists of Pandaria to current retail. Fistweavers play near melee, maintain a high APM melee DPS rotation that provides high boss DPS compared to other healers, and a consistent healing output. To make up for this, it has lower overall healing, and is at a higher risk of dying compared to other healers. Mistweavers have always been about raw HPS numbers, with bursty AoE healing. In Mists of Pandaria, it's all about renewing Mist uptime, into uplift, to AoE heal the raid as much as possible, with strong potential to spot heal. The weakness is that it will stay near the bottom of the DPS meter, and is extremely mana intensive, making it a hard playstyle to get the most out of. Most of the time, monks don't lean to one side that hard, and will balance their playstyle between them, depending on what's needed. But it's the option of having these playstyles that creates unique class fantasy that Mistweaver players like myself love. Mistweavers at the moment aren't able to Fistweave as they were originally able to because of a litany of nerfs to the cost of spells and regen over the course of Mists of Pandaria. In 5.4 this wasn't as big of a deal because your regen was a lot higher due to stats on gear. Fistweaving is in desperate need of attention to bring it back to the playstyle's intended goals. Mistweaver is missing its core. It's not just numbers, it's flow, it's identity, it's synergy. Blizzard does not need to reinvent the wheel with this. Just undo the damage that they did in 5.1, 5.2, and 5.4. We don't want to be meta gods, no one's asking for that. We just want to enjoy the spec that we loved back then, and we want to have both playstyles feel right again. I don't think reverting any of these nerfs will put us in a position that's even going to beat Resto Shamans, let alone Disciplined Priests. But it would be nice to be a nice third option, whilst right now Mistweaver's lucky to be 4th. any of this resonated or tilted you in the right direction, hit like, subscribe, and come hang out in the Classic Monk Discord. We're theory crafting, experimenting, and trying to fix this spec from the inside out. You can also catch me live at SpankyGTV on Twitch. Come argue with me about Surging Mist. Let's keep the conversation rolling.